Hi, it's Mr. Baumgarten. Welcome back to Training Your Virtual Pet. Today we're going to use our if statements more to not just detect the press, but to use these coordinates that we got before. Right, so last time we had an if statement that kind of said, oh look, if I've pressed the screen, I want to increase my number by 1, and then we kind of just cleared the queue of the press, but we were printing the coordinates of that press that was sitting in the queue. This time we're going to use these coordinates. So what we're going to adapt this for is have two counters running. So instead of number, I'm going to change this, and we're going to have left is equal to 0, and we're going to have right is equal to 0, and we're going to split our screen into two halves. So on the left hand side, let's just do some copying and pasting here. They say that there was only ever one line of code that was truly ever written, and ever since it's only ever been copy and pasted. Programmers are known as being lazy. 240. Okay, so this should be the X location. That's the halfway point between the left side of the screen and the right side of the screen. Oops, helps if I can spell things correctly or type without errors. And instead of white, I'm going to use yellow because I'm going to want it to contrast later on with something else that I'm going to do. Coming right up. Right now this code would crash if I was to run it, because I'm saying draw the value left and right. So we've got 0 and 0, but then I'm saying when I press the screen, take whatever is inside number, add 1 to it, save it back to number. But the problem is number doesn't exist yet. So when Python tries to look up number and to add 1 to it, it's going to say, well, hang on, what is number? There is no such thing. And so if I press my screen, you can see that we get a crash, name error, number isn't defined. And that's what that is meaning. It's because, remember, before it can set a value, it has to be able to look up number to increase it by 1. So that's not what we want. We want to get rid of that. And rather than printing out the X and Y coordinates of our the press location, I'm actually going to have Python save them into an X and a Y variable. And I can print these out as well if I want. But what I'm going to do instead is ask the question, if the X value is on the left half of the screen. So reminder that halfway through the screen on the X is 160. So if it's less than 160, so if X happens to be 0 through to 159, what do I want it to do? Then I'm going to increase what is inside my left value. Alright, now I can then write if X is bigger than 160, or I could say if X is bigger than or equal to 160, increase my right by 1. Right? But I don't actually need to do that, because this, where are we? Yep. This is just the alternative case to that. Right? And so if it's just if this otherwise do this other thing kind of scenario, right? If there's only the two things that I'm wanting it to choose between, I don't need the second calculation. I can just say else, right? And so in that case, if this is true, it will run this line. Else, or otherwise, if it's not true, if the original question wasn't true, then run this as the alternative. And now what will happen is when I run my code, I'm going to have my two different counters that will increase depending upon the side of the screen that I touch. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so you can see how each counter is going up separately. But we can get more fancy than that. Let's light up the half of the screen that we pressed. Okay, and so what I'm going to do here, in addition to increasing my counter by left, I'm going to draw a rectangle. We haven't drawn any shapes yet. So display, and I want to fill this rectangle in with my color. All right, so in that case, I'm going to say fill rectangle. There's a draw rectangle, which will draw a hollow rectangle and just the outline, but there's also this fill rectangle. And the way the rectangle command works, right, we need to provide it a range of different values. We need to give it the X and the Y value for the top left corner, and then we give it a width number, and then we give it a height number. Oh, what am I doing? And then we give it the color. All right, so those are the 5 values that I have to give it. So for my left rectangle, from 0, 0, top left corner, the width is going to be, all right, I'm going to go up to 159, and the height is, I just realized I'm not even spelling height correctly. All right, the height is, what is it? It's 239, and the color, let's go for colors red. And if I do the same on my right, display, fill, rectangle, right? So this is going to go from 160, 0, right? So the X, it's going to start drawing on the X location of 150, and the width for this is also 159, right? I'm not putting in the final X location, I'm putting in a width number. All right, so 160 plus 159. All right, and let's make this red. Now, I wonder if you can tell the problem that this is going to cause. Yeah, so let's just stop my previous program. Save, run. All right, 0, 0. If I press on the left, all right, I get a big red screen with a number 1 inside it, and that will increase. Now if I press on the right, I get a big red there. But I only want it to light up the side that I most recently pressed. So how can I get around that? I can just draw 2 separate rectangles. I can draw one that is red and make the other side be a black rectangle. And so if I just copy my 2 rectangles and then just change the colors over accordingly. All right, stop, save, run. All right, the one that I most recently pressed is the one that lights up. All right, have a go experimenting with different rectangles. If you want to see what other shapes are available to draw, I'll put a link in the lesson notes to this page on my website, where I have here a bit of a reference of some of the different screen commands. Right, and so you can see here we have display, draw text, which is what we've been using. But then we have these different shapes. So we can draw individual pixels, we can draw lines, we can draw horizontal and vertical lines, we can give it a whole set of lines, and then here draw rectangle, draw circle, draw ellipse, and then fill rectangle. All right, there's also a fill rectangle version, which is what we're using there. So take a look at those. And have fun drawing different shapes on the screen based upon different presses. Can you get it to work and split your screen into 4 different pieces, right? If your X is a certain value, and if your Y is the top half or the bottom half. And if you guess that, hey, you basically need to insert another if statement here that checks the Y values, then you would be correct. So see if you can get that to work, and then come back for the next video. This is Mr. Baumgarten signing out.